All right. Errol Spence Jr. made an announcement last night that he is going to be fighting Danny Garcia in January. And you know there's going to be a big storm about this fight and how the fight shouldn't be made because we want to see bigger and better fights. And I am going to disagree in large part with that conclusion. Let's talk about it in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. Before we get into the subject matter of the video, let me say a couple things. Thank you to the supporters that watch the videos. Thank you to the supporters that watch the videos to the end, listen to my complete argument, and give me their thoughts, opinions in the comment section. Also, I want to thank you to my subscribers and supporters that are members of the Patreon community and also the live stream community where we get together and we talk about boxing, different issues on it every day, Monday through Friday at around 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, and our special show where we end the week off and talk on OG Boxing Talk at 8 a.m. Sunday mornings with myself, KQKC Boxing, Blood Boxing, and Kurt Sugar. Definitely be there. Now, let's talk about this fight that's going to take place between Errol Spence Jr. and Danny Garcia and some of the things that people are saying about the fight. I agree with a lot of what people are saying, but at the same time, my viewpoint on it is that this is not a bad fight. It might not be the best fight, but this is not a bad fight. And there are many examples in boxing where people are not taking on the level of competition that we're seeing back to back to back out of Errol Spence Jr. And also, I think that it is a little bit hypocritical of people to complain about what could be a good fight, but not the best fight with Danny Garcia. But at the same time, really not say much at all about what we see with most of the other welterweight champions, most of the other people that are fighting in championships around those weight classes. So let's get into that. First, a little background. Errol Spence Jr. is a WBC champion. I'm going to give this background because there might be some people that are a little bit unfamiliar with the facts that lead up to it. Errol Spence Jr. is a WBC champion and the IBF champion. He just beat Sean Porter in a very tough, very entertaining, very grueling fight for a unification. In a fight that many people expected, most people expected Errol Spence to win, but expected Errol Spence to win in a much more dominating performance. But what we got was a highly unexpected, by most people, an unexpectedly exciting fight where it was on a pay-per-view and everybody got their money's worth. And so we were looking for, coming out of that fight, either a fight with Terrence Crawford, who is the WBO champion, or a fight with a rematch with Sean Porter, who just lost his WBC belt. What we're getting instead of that is a fight with Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is a former WBC champion at 147 pounds. He's a former champion. I think he was unified. Somebody can correct me and let me know in the comment section, but he was definitely one of the top 140-pound fighter before he moved up to the welterweight division. So the complaints that we are hearing, that I'm hearing, is that Danny Garcia, we don't want to see this Danny Garcia fight. We want to see a Terrence Crawford fight. We don't want to see a Danny Garcia fight. We want to see a Sean Porter fight. Now, here's my thing. I want to see the fight that I would prefer to have is a rematch between Errol Spence Jr. and Sean Porter. That is the number one fight that I would like to see in the welterweight division next. With as far as fights that include Errol Spence Jr. And the reason why I want to see that is because that was a very good fight. I know what I'm going to get out of that fight. I'm going to get another good, exciting fight. That fight is going to be like, not in the stature of the fight, but in the styles of the fight. That's going to be an Ali versus Frazier type of fight. That style of those two guys fighting one another, that's going to be a tough fight every time out. Right? That is going to be that. And in boxing, you have things where you have styles make fights, and those styles mesh very well. I know what I'm going to get there, and I think that Sean Porter deserves that. That would be the fight that I would like to see first, even over the Terrence Crawford fight. The second fight that I would like to see is Errol Spence Jr. versus Manny Pacquiao. And the reason that I would like to see Errol Spence Jr. fight Manny Pacquiao, if he couldn't get the Sean Porter fight, is because I think that brings closure to, it creates a 3-belt scenario where the next fight can be against Terrence Crawford. Now, here is where there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with me. And I know that there's a lot of people that disagree with me about the order of those two fights. But I really believe that Terrence Crawford has to actually fight somebody at 100, has to fight somebody at 147 pounds that would make the fight live up to its potential in as far as in a sense of equity, right? Fairness. If you look at who Errol Spence Jr. has fought since he moved up to 147 pounds, and he became now, I think, the number one guy in the welterweight division, in my opinion, based on, his current level of fight, his current level of boxing in the ring, and the monetary portion that he brings to the game. Because although we don't like to acknowledge a lot, it is important, right? And the fan base, also the level of opposition. I believe he's the number one welterweight. He's fought. In the last 3 fights, he's fought Sean Porter, who's a 2-time welterweight champion. Before that, he fought Mikey Garcia, who held a 140-pound belt. Before that, he fought a mandatory, so that's really, that's Ocampo. Before that, he won his belt beating Kell Brook. If he fights Danny Garcia, that would be another former welterweight champion that he fought. And I don't think anybody can argue that Danny Garcia is not a top 4 welterweight, top 4, top 5 welterweight. Now, if you can fight a guy that's a number 1 or number 2, a number 2 or number 3 welterweight, you can fight another guy who's a number 1 or number 2 welterweight. You follow that up with Danny Garcia, who's a number 3 or number 4 welterweight. If you look at all the welterweights, Danny Garcia could be behind Errol Spence Jr. He could be behind Terrence Crawford. He could be behind Manny Pacquiao. He might be behind Sean Porter. I think you put him ahead of Keith Thurman. But, right, that's easily a top 10 welterweight. You compare that against what Bud Crawford has done at 147 pounds, and there's just no comparison. But if you did the same thing between Bud and Sean Porter, right? You did the same thing between Sean and you compared Sean and Bud, you get the same conclusion about the level of competition. If you did the same thing with Manny Pacquiao and Terrence Crawford, you get the same thing as far as level of competition. You do that with Danny Garcia and Terrence Crawford. Danny Garcia has fought better fighters and fought tougher fights at the 147-pound division than Terrence Crawford has. I think that is just a sense of equity because we know what we see. That Terrence Crawford is an excellent, excellent fighter, pound for pound number 1 fighter in the world. That's a fight what everybody wants to see. And I have no problem with people wanting to see that. I want to see the fight. But I don't think that it is fair to criticize somebody that is fighting top level when one guy is fighting better competition more consistently than the other guy, than to put the blame on him for not making the guy fight with the second guy. And be specific. If Errol Spence Jr. is fighting better competition, right? Even this next fight that if he has it with Danny Garcia, that's better than the fight Terrence Crawford's making. I think people need to put the onus on Terrence Crawford to fight a Ordanis Ugas, to fight a Sean Porter, to fight whoever and how, not just say things like in the media, like, you know, we're not in, or his trainer Bomac saying things like, we're not interested in fighting Danny Garcia. We're not interested in Sean Porter. We're only interested in champions. Well, that's not how boxing works. You fight champions and you fight top contenders. And I think that's what Errol Spence Jr. is doing with Danny Garcia. I would much rather it be Sean Porter. I'd rather it be Manny Pacquiao. I'd rather it be Terrence Crawford. But it's not a bad fight. And for as far as the level of competition, it's right there with Errol Spence Jr. versus Yordenis Ugas. And that's my take on it. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I understand that people might necessarily agree with that, but it is what it is. I think that that's fair, that's equitable, and also it puts Terrence Crawford in a better position for when he fights Errol Spence Jr. because right now he's not fighting anybody right now that is of the level of the competition of the people that I mentioned. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and with that, I'm out. Peace.